Hola Internet, bienvenidos a Alex Universe. Did you figure out what language that was? Well, obviously, because that's very simple, but this is what we will be talking today about. Do you want to travel the world? And if you do you think you will just get by with English? Well, the majority of places probably, but here are the 5-ish, maybe 6 languages that you should learn at least on a conversational basis to be just fine practically all around the world. And then also some bonus tips. By the way, I really apologize for the mess in this apartment. My sister and my nephew are visiting me and this place kind of starts to look like a battlefield. So let's go to number 1. Well, number 1 is pretty simple. Honestly, when you think about it, you're watching it in this language, and it is probably the most useful language that you can learn to travel the world. If you don't require much and you have a Google Translator, this will be just fine. I know a lot of people who know only English and just travel around the world just fine. The great advantage of English is, of course, the British Empire that colonized half of the world, so that's already a good step up. And then English is pretty simple, so it kind of got accepted as the general international language of commerce, of international relations and politics and so on. So if you know English to some smallest degree, you will be fine visiting like major cities and stuff around the world. But that would be very boring if I told you all of this. So let's go to number 2, and that is Spanish. It's no surprise, that's actually the language that I told you the reading in case you didn't notice that. Spanish is, well, if you think about it, most of the languages that I will talk here are from Europe, and well, guess why? I think the reason will be the same in all cases. Basically, colonialism, obviously. So the Spanish Empire once was one of the largest in the world, and well, today, if you're traveling somewhere in Americas, below the borders between Mexico and the United States, the chances are Spanish will be very handy. Of course, there are other languages that are used there, like English in Belize or, for God's sake, Dutch in Suriname, but in most cases, if you're traveling to South America, Spanish will be your language to learn. And that's quite useful. You will also find it handy if you're traveling to Equatorial Guinea, which, well, anyway, and, well, Spain, obviously, and it may be used by other people around the world because, let's be honest, it's the second most used language in the world, so chances are you will use it. But generally, South America, if you want to go there, learn Spanish, at least some basics. That's what I'm currently doing because I would like to visit Peru and some other countries in South America like Argentina, Chile, and, well, also Brazil, but that's a whole other story. I will get to it. To me, the third most useful language to learn if you want to travel the world is French. Well, the reason is the same, obviously, but for French we need to move from the South America and we will go to Africa, because what France colonized the most was exactly the Central and Western Africa. So if you want to travel somewhere between Senegal, the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic and the Congo and so on, the chances are you will really get to use your French, at least on some smaller degree. The thing is, in majority of these countries, you really will not get by with English. So learn some conversational French if you want to travel to Africa. Also, there are some former Belgian colonies, and as you know, one of the official languages of Belgium is also French, so that's useful there. Not to mention that France has also quite a lot of former colonies in the Pacific, so if you want to do some island hopping in Oceania, French might really be helpful for you. Moving on, we go to a completely different part of the world, and the fourth language on our list is Russian. If you want to travel basically anywhere in the former Soviet Union or even partially the Soviet bloc, Russian might be still very useful, especially when you encounter older population. This is more true if you're traveling somewhere to the Caucasus or to the Central Asia, also in obviously Belarus and Ukraine, and also in smaller degree in some East European countries, especially like the Baltic states. There is quite a large Russian community still, and older people still speak Russian. The same can go for other East European countries. Not to mention, if you learn Russian, many Slavic languages will be, well, not completely intelligible, but you will understand the gist of it. So, in case you know Russian and you go to Serbia, the language is quite different, but you will get the basic understanding of what they're saying to you. Trust me, when I was in Kyrgyzstan, I didn't speak any Russian, obviously, but I was using my Czech and Slovak with a Russian accent and some Russian words that I know, and it was fine. The next on our list, and this is a big one, is Arabic, obviously, because when you look at the world and the dispersion of languages on the map, you will find out that the whole of North Africa and the Middle East basically speak Arabic, so that may help you a lot. If you're traveling in Northern Africa, chances are you will get by French. So for example, in Morocco, Algeria, almost everyone in larger cities speak French. But if you want to like travel through whole of the Middle East and don't just want to stick to the big ones like I don't know, Dubai, Doha or Riyadh, then Arabic might be very useful. Just you need to understand that not all Arabic people speak formal Arabic. They have their own dialects that are quite different from each other, and you will probably not understand it if you will learn the literary Arabic, but they also know it, so they can switch to it, and it's much more likely that they will speak the formal Arabic than English. This has one plus. If you learn the Arabic writings, you may also have an advantage in other languages that use the Arabic script but are completely different from Arabic, but you will be able to read at least. Yeah, so if you're then traveling to Iran or Pakistan, where they use completely different languages but use the Arabic script, at least you'll have this advantage and you will know what they write. You will not understand it. I mean, sometimes. I mean, I think like words like shawarma are the same in Persian and Arabic. I don't know that. I don't speak either, but if you want to correct me, write it in the comments down below. The last one on our list, and this is a smaller one, because as you may have noticed, we have currently really covered the majority of the world. So you may consider learning Portuguese, especially when you already speak Spanish. Then learning Portuguese is very easy because the languages are quite similar. The majority of differences is in pronunciation, and especially in writing. When you know Spanish, you understand what is written in Portuguese in like 90%. So that's good. Why you should learn Portuguese is because if you want to travel to Brazil, that's what I've already mentioned, that I would like to do that. From what I heard, the efficiency in English outside the major cities is not very widespread, so learning Portuguese might be fine. Or you can just speak Spanish with Portuguese accent and hope that you will get by. You probably will, and unless the people are dicks, then you will not even offend them, so that's something. And also it may be handy in some African countries that are also part of the Portuguese Empire, for example Angola or Mozambique. And I'm gonna jump over something a little bit. You may have a question why I'm not recommending Chinese to you, because it's one of the most widespread languages in the world. The problem is they have a lot of native speakers. That's true, but what's problematic is they are all in one country. I mean, okay, let's forget Singapore for a bit, because you will get by with English with no problem. So you don't need to learn Chinese for that. There's Taiwan. Don't even get me started about the differences between People's Republic of China and the Republic of China. I already made a video about it, so you can watch it in the upper right corner. But outside of there, Chinese is really not very useful. So if you intend to travel to China for an extended period of time, then obviously it may be useful because the English proficiency is not that high there either. But if you just want to visit it for a few days or weeks or something, then I think that, because learning Chinese is not really simple, and I would even say that if you learn the Chinese characters, then it will then help you with understanding, maybe actually quite, yes, it will help you with understanding the written form of Japanese. But I mean, you will spend so much time learning the characters that it's not really efficient. And not to mention, if you learn the Mandarin Chinese, then when you leave the parts where they speak it and they speak, for example, Cantonese, which is the case of Singapore, for example, then you're screwed because they sound completely different and you have no idea what they're telling you. So if you want to learn Chinese, I'm not telling you shouldn't, definitely do. I've always wanted to learn Icelandic, and it's like really so pointless, but if it makes you happy, then it's fine. But the 5 or 6 languages that I told you are the ones that will probably help you to get by all around the world, and it'll be just fine. So I don't know, download Duolingo or get a language course and go for it, because the world is waiting. Are you coming? If you enjoyed the video, if you found this interesting, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel, check out my other social media, and I will see you next time. Cheers.